Hi everyone and welcome. So today is the day. It's the day I'm sharing with all of you the build I've been using on the live server for quite some time and the build that many of you have requested. So as a reminder, this is a very bug heavy build. This is something that will not last forever. This is something that is going to be nerfed and all of those things I've said before. So be careful when using this build. Don't expect it to last forever. So now let's get into it. So which abilities are we going to pick? Well, the most obvious one is Charisma, because well, Charisma gives action point gain and recharge speed increase. The second one we can choose. There are options actually. You can pick either Strength, if you are using Fire of the Gods to trigger some stuff, you may have mount bonuses that rely on it. So you are going to need a bit of crit, or you can pick Intelligence. Intelligence, okay, it's a bit unusual. I know many of you are not used to pick that because, well, it's not something that is often recommended, but you can get recharge speed increase, which means that your standard spell, which means that your non-divine mode spells, if you are not using chains for instance, you can get your spell recharging much faster, which means more action point gain overall. If your spells recharge faster, you are going to be able to cast them more often, which means more action points. This is something you should keep in mind, especially if you are not using chains or if you want simply more action point gains overall from your two other encounters. Now let's talk about feats. So which feats now are we using? The first and the most obvious one is healing action. Like I've said before, is benefiting Divine Glow, which means that it's one of our 3 encounters, which is good. It's going to be quite useful because we are getting more action points overall from one of our encounters, and that's okay, that's good enough to be taken. So the next thing you should pick is Repurpose. So Repurposeful is not something that is going to generate any action point, but it's actually quite useful to heal allies a bit with your spell, so that's not wasted. Of course you should pick Cleanse, because Cleanse is useful in a lot of content, but you shouldn't pick more than 1 point in it, because, well, it's going to be triggered by pretty much all of your stuff, including Astral Seal, including Divine Glow, or a lot of things really. Of course, we want Divine for the Bountiful Fortune because we love Divinity, and even if we are not a Divinity-based build, we are going to pick that one. So yeah, we can use more Divinities, so that's never wasted. So now let's take a look at the feats themselves. Well, we are first going to pick Half Face because, well, it's not very useful per se, but it's something that is slightly beneficial to the team, and of course that's something that's better than the other feats, so that's pretty much a default choice, but it's not a bad one because, well, more damage resistance can help a bit sometimes. So of course we are taking the power sharing Paragon Power, which is Battle Fervor, which means that we are going to use, actually, don't look at this, this is messy, I've been lazy. We are going to use Blessing of Battle, and we are sharing power with it, which is actually quite good. The range is okay, I've not really made the effort to measure it, but it's quite good, and it's useful in dungeon and in raids in general, so yeah, you should pick that one, and you should be using that one, unless, of course, NPCs die so fast that you don't have time to make Divinity, in which case you are going to have to use Sacred Flame, but that's still okay to pick it, because sometimes you are going to use it, and the other options are downright terrible, so you shouldn't pay too much attention to it anyway. Of course, we are picking Gift of Haste, and I have covered that enough already, so there's no need to come back to it. It's really good, and it's one of the cornerstones of this build. So now let's take a look at the Righteous feats I have picked. I've picked Furious Intervention because that's more action points. I have picked Astral Fury because I didn't want to pick any tier 4 Paragon feat because, well, they're not useful. Yeah, okay. Piercing Light. My powers have more armor penetration. That's useless. That's useless. That's useless. Yeah, it's useless because it's bugged. So I've picked this one because, well, why not? I mean, at this point, that's pretty much a default choice, and this isn't something you should be concerned about. I've picked also Ancient Warning because, well, it gives action points to myself and allies, and of course, the heal also triggers gift of age, which is completely silly. It's something that gives action point because it gives action point. No, that doesn't make sense, but this is how Neverwinter works. This is, yeah, good stuff triggers good stuff that is even better. This is really really sad, but this is how it works. So we are picking Weapons of Light because that's a nice little buff. Yeah, you are going to share some of your power, maybe 3000k with your allies if you have, yeah, 10% isn't bad. If you are a power sharing cleric, that's something you should pick. So I have picked a bit of Fire of the Gods because I am using mount bonuses that are triggered by hits I'm doing, and of course I have picked Condemning Gaze at rank 4. It's not a big deal, this is not a game changer, not to put 5 points into it. Well, you are still going to be able to stack it to ridiculous levels, spamming Chains of Blazing Light. You are going to be able to stack it 8, 9 times. Yeah, that's still okay. So you are going to be able to debuff targets by quite a lot using using bug spells like Chains. And of course we are picking the Capstone because, well, the Capstone is, well, it's okay, it's only 1 point, it's not a game changer, but it's good for solo content. So which encounters are we going to use? Like I said, don't take a look at what I've picked. That doesn't make any sense, but, well, this is okay. So here we go. No, not yet. Yeah. So this is your standard, the standard rotation you should be using. We have been picking, of course, action point gains. And, well, this is the standard buffs. This is the buff you are going to spam every 5, 6, 7 seconds. And of course we are picking Chains because Chains generate action points when you are using in Divine mode. Also you could be using Searing Light if you want instead, because that works too. It's the casting animation is much slower though, so you should still be using Chains in most of the content if you are, of course, willing to use bugs. And if you are watching this video, you are probably using bugs, and that's not nice from you, but anyway, that's your choice. So, oh, Astral Seal, not this. Yeah, that's better. And one of the other options you may be using is, of course, Astroning Light. But like I've said before, Astroning Light, if you want to replace something that's Divine Fortune instead, you can use absolutely use Astroning Light, but it's not useful in every situation because not many classes are benefiting from it. Mainly Great Weapon Fighters and Guardian Fighters, and that's about it. Other classes should be having a lot of recovery already, so if they build their characters properly, or there are feats that reduces their cooldowns a lot already, like Control Wizard. So this isn't something that or other classes like the Rangers already are spamming spells already, so they wouldn't benefit from it. Maybe Warlocks, some Warlocks may benefit from it too, but it's mostly for Great Weapon Fighters, so this isn't something you should be picking if you don't have at least 2 or 3 characters benefiting from it, and I don't think that using it just for the tank character is relevant in any way, because, well, the tank, well, he will be able to spam a bit more into the fray, but that's about it. It's really not a really game changer, except in some content like from Breaker's Island if the boss fights are extremely long. But again, it's a balancing act. It's your choice. If you pick Divine Fortune over Astroning Light, you are going to make a lot more divinity, which means that you are going to cast Break the Spirit much more often. You're also going to be able to generate more action points with Chains. So this is really a decision you are going to have to make. It's not an easy one. Sometimes Astroning Light is better, sometimes Divine Fortune is better. This is really up to you to determine which one is in which party composition and in the kind of content you are playing. So really, be mindful when you are picking your second class feature. The first one, of course, is Holy Fervor, but there are options for the second class feature, and it's really up to you to learn which one you should be using in what kind of content and with which team. So I hope I have given you enough clues about using it already. If it's not clear enough, let me know in the comment. I will make something more detailed about it. So the boons have already been covered. We have also covered the action point in general. We have not covered gear because, well, you should. I'm not saying it doesn't really matter, but really it doesn't matter. I've covered it in other videos already, and you should be picking something that is beneficial to your character right now, which means that if you are a very highly geared Devoted Cleric, and if you are using rank 12 bonding runestones, I don't have them here, but if you're using rank 12 bonding runestones with, I don't know, a lot of rank 12 series, well, maybe you are not going to have to pick recovery gear, because you don't need that much recovery beyond, well, 150% action point, and there isn't much point going any further, so you can pick crit instead and do more damage, or do your daily quest faster. I have picked myself crit because, well, I have a well developed character and I don't need that anymore. But if you are a beginner devoted cleric, you may be interested in picking one of the recovery sets you have available. That's an option. It's not a bad one. So yeah, we are using the Imperial Dragon Plot. We have said why before. We are using also Brutality, because Brutality, we are going to be able to share more power with Anointed Army with Brutality. This is really excellent. We are of course using that, and Power Crit Recovery, which has 3 useful stats with Strength and Wisdom. That's good. That's not the absolute best you can get. This is something that I was using as Divine Oracle, but it's still good for Anointed Champion. And of course we are using this because we want to share power. We're using the wheel, and okay, well, I'm not going to show all my gear, but basically you should be picking power on your artifacts, and stamina is good, crit is good too, but recovery is also an option, and you shouldn't be using that one, but I am currently. So the weapon enchantment you should be using is of course one of the debuff weapon enchantments, which means Frost. Frost works. Bronzewood is also excellent. Fate no, you shouldn't be using that. Plague Fire works too. It's not the best, but it's an option, especially if you are, if you are looking for a cheap option. Plague Fire works too. But really the one I recommend is Bronzewood, because Bronzewood, well, for short fights and for trash fights in dungeon, is really excellent. It's the best debuff you can get for on NPCs. So NPCs do not survive more than 10 seconds. This is not realistic, and most bosses are dead within 15 seconds, which means that it's still one of the best debuff weapon enchantment you can use. But of course you can get Frost. That's okay. Frost works. There's also Dread that works, or Vorpal that works too, well, at the Transcendent level. But overall, I'm still recommending Bronzewood. So let's equip it. Of course, in your offense slots, you shouldn't be using that, but you should be using power, because you are willing to share power. And we are, of course, going to try to increase that. With your power sharing devoted cleric, you are not going to share power from sources such as Augment or your bonding companions. So you should really be picking, putting most of your recovery on your companion, because you have no use for this on your character, and you should be putting all of your power on your character, because all your power runes on your character, because while you are going to share you're going to share your power with that. So I hope you learned something. That's all for the feats and the missing parts of the build I have mentioned already. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.